Hi guys, welcome back to Anadialogue, the dialogue on analog music reproduction. Today we're gonna go back to vinyl. Yes, we're gonna take a look at one of the best and I think most interesting types of cutting, of a stamping process, we could say, connected to vinyl production. What am I talking about? I'm talking about DMM, Direct Metal Mastering. Let's take a look. Okay guys, so what is DMM, Direct Metal Mastering? Well, it's a technology developed in the late 70s by RCA, the Recording Company of America, for their Selectavision discs, video discs actually, not for audio, not for vinyl records. So after a while, this technology just went out of production and jumped in. Who jumped in? Telefunken Decca, Teldec, which got this technology. They made it better together with Neumann, and already starting in the 80s, we have the first productions. In fact, here I have an example of a 1983 DMM vinyl record of this group. Nothing special, and I must admit that not even the sound is that amazing, actually. But if we go ahead in time, things, at least in my opinion, starts to change in better. Especially during the 90s, towards the end of the 90s, there's a lot of DMM productions released in the world. But then again, slowly this starts to fade away. Obviously because CD was really becoming big and vinyl records were going away. Today, now with this resurgence, there are still DMM productions, but unexplainably very, very few. Not as many as you would imagine, considering that there's this resurgence of vinyl. So hopefully things are gonna be better, are gonna come back, and they're gonna start to redo this type of technology. Although, as we said in a specific video that I released just a few weeks ago on the amazing present and future of vinyl records, here's a link, we are facing a very strange phase where we have very late old technology of which we don't even have the blueprints anymore, and we're going towards something that is going to be completely digital, like HD vinyl. So maybe the industry is sort of pausing now, and it's not going to develop further technologies or implement new technologies. Obviously, we're talking about old technologies back in the new production, like DMM. While we're having half-speed mastering processes, which is easier, you just have to quicken up the process, the cutting process. Here, you need a completely different type of head. So let's take a look better in depth to what is DMM and what are the pros and the cons. Okay, so DMM has, first of all, a completely different type of head. It uses mainly a diamond stylus, sometimes also a sapphire stylus, which goes around 60 hertz of frequency, with much, much more than the normal type of head, which are used to cut the acetate lacquer, the ones that are currently mass-produced. So why is this? We need a special head because, as you can imagine, we are cutting directly in metal. Actually in copper, a special kind of copper, pyrophosphate copper, which is much more soft and easy to cut, which this was also a problem in the early phases of this technology, which obviously got better and better, thanks also especially to Telefunken and Decca. So we have this fantastic and precise incision in a metal platter, a copper platter, which then continues on in the normal process of vinyl record production. So that's the great advantage. Now we'll see more in depth why. We're going to take a look at 7 main pros and I would say 2 cons of this production. Okay, so point number one of the most important, I would say, we are jumping a passage, one of the fundamental passages in creating a vinyl record. We have the creation of the father, the creation of the mother, and the creation of the stamper, plus all the different other passages and the passages in between these. But these are the main three passages, and we are taking away the first great passage because we are not creating a father, which will then create a mother. We are directly creating a mother, which will then create the stamper from which we will have the different copies. So that's very important, and it will bring different kinds of advantages. But as you can imagine, the less passages we have, if we're talking just about passages, the more accurate the grooves are going to be. Not only because they're cut in metal, but also because we're jumping this passages of negative, positive, which obviously is going to reduce the quality. Just as a matrix is going to print out money, for example, if we reduce the passages, obviously the money is going to be more precise, the drawings, etc. It's the same thing. So let's proceed. Point number 2. Thanks to this precise cutting, we are able to eliminate the problems called pre-echo and post-echo in the grooves, the echo grooves, which sometimes may happen. What is that? Well, very simply, when we are cutting in the acetate lacquer, some of these vibrations, which create obviously the music, can pass on to the groove afterwards or the groove before. And if there are silent passages, you're going to hear this coming from the passages before. So with this type of precise cutting, this is practically eliminated, which is something very positive. Point number 3. According to scientists or expert musicians and engineers, with this process, DMM, we have better transients. So when we have sudden or fast attacks between music within the sound, these are correctly or better reproduced, which obviously are difficult to reproduce. When all of a sudden you have a peak in sound with different kinds of frequencies, that's going to be hard to cut. And with this type of technology, these are better reproduced, better cut, and obviously better reproduced. Point number 4. Less noise. Oh yes, baby. First of all, we're going to have less noise in the signal when it's cut in the lacquer, because in acetate we have a higher rumble, which instead is greatly diminished while cutting the same signal in metal. Plus, there's less surface noise also, because during the passage of electroplating, which is not there anymore, we are jumping that passage where you get the father and you have to practically create a film of nickel metal around it in order to create then the mother. We are jumping that. And in that phase, sometimes while spraying the metals, etc., we may have some dust particles which are trapped, and then at that point you find them in the final records. So we are also reducing that type of noise. Point number 5, high frequencies. According to a lot of people, with this solution, with this cutting process, the high frequencies are better reproduced, are better obtained, since there is this precision in the cutting of the grooves, and the high frequencies are very delicate and very difficult to engrave in the surface of the lacquer of the matrix. So if we adopt this type of solution, according to a lot of people, we have a better reproduction of the higher frequencies. Point number 6, as you can imagine, we have an optimization of space thanks to the characteristics of the metal. We can do much more grooves one next to another because they're not going to crisscross or invade one into another. It's very easy to make the most out of the space you have on your vinyl record. Actually, your metal plate. Point number 7, final point. With this type of technology, considering that the mother is very high quality, the stampers are also very high quality, and you can produce more copies with better results before there is that normal decay of the, we could say, the precision of what is the result of a stamping process. So thanks to the technology, which you would think it's more expensive, but you're also doing less matrices, because with one you can have more records and of high quality. So in the end, it's not that expensive. You just need a better head. That's the whole point of the process. And obviously you need copper for the plating, which does have a cost, but not that high in the end. Okay, so apart from these pros, these positive effects of adopting direct metal mastering, what is the downside? What is, maybe I would say, the reason why a lot of labels, production houses are not adopting this type of technology? Well, first of all, we have very, very few. Around a dozen machines have, even less probably, have this technology still present on their Neumann cutting lathes around the world. So already not that many people can use that. Plus, what's happening? That a lot of people claim that the high frequencies in all these recordings are not that nice. They are very harsh. They're too strong. Maybe due, that's what they say, to this cutting in the metal, where we have the frequencies, the higher frequencies, a little too present. I don't know. I have not experienced that. I must admit that. But that's what a lot of people say. So our last point, which for me is probably the worst downside of all this process, which is probably also connected to the first downside, the first negative point I've just claimed, is that unfortunately we need a different angle of the stylus in order to cut the grooves in the metal plate. This different angle obviously is not optimized, it's not good, it's not correct for the angle adopted in our cartridges, in our normal phono cartridges, which instead are the stylus of used for DMM is around 0 degrees, which instead the cartridges go 15-22 degrees. So in order to have a result similar to that VTA, and in the end is a vertical tracking angle of our cartridges, the signal must undergo an electronic processing, which practically, I don't know, I hope you're following me, practically reduces the depth also of the grooves, which will create problems in this VDA in the final angle. So apart from the angles and the stylus, who cares about that? What is making my ears and my brain worry is electronic signal processing. I don't want that, because if you're processing the signal in order to have a different kind of signal, so the cutting angle is correct at that point, you're changing the signal in a non-analog way. It's not digital, it's electronic, which is different. I mean, there's no conversion. But the signal is processed, it's somehow manipulated, changed, transformed. And I think that actually may give that brighter sound. Although I must say, in the end, DMM productions are fantastic. In fact, let's get to our last section of this video. I want to do a test today with you. In fact, we're going to listen to 2 versions of, oh yes, Black Sabbath's Master of Reality. I have this recent edition of 2015 plus a DMM version of 2000, I don't remember, 3. They're probably different masterings, unfortunately. Yes, it would be impossible to have the same identical mastering with DMM and without. So might as well just get a normal recent version, which you can find now on Amazon with this type of graphics, versus this version, which I remember in my head was DMM, because there's no other trace now. When I took, there was a hype sticker here, but there's nothing now here. although I can remember correctly that this was DMM, because in fact, as you can see here, it says DMM and the number, the serial number 41001 of the record. Plus, it also says DMM here in the dead wax. So that's the only way sometimes how you can know if a record is DMM. You're not going to find it always written on the jacket cover or whatever it is. I mean, if we take a look, for example, at this older type, it's written all over the place. It was the beginning. They really wanted to commercialize this. But afterwards, I mean, somebody uses it, someone else doesn't, and it's not always advertised. So check your, I mean, it's difficult. You can't check every single album, record you have, but you never know. Just take a look. If you see those little DMM letters in the dead wax, you're probably holding a DMM record. Okay, so apart from this, let's try now to understand which is which, first of all, and which one you like more. Okay, let's get to it. Okay, guys, so there's no purpose in showing the different sound waves, the dynamic range, frequency response. They're two different masterings. So we just want to do a comparison on the quality of the audio. So You tell me which one you prefer. I'm not going to answer this time. I'm going to answer down in the comments. So if you're curious, you're going to have to read the comments. Thank you guys for watching. And remember, music is born analog. Yes.